Cifa was only 17 when it happened. That night in the small, cold village of Indala, everything changed. The sky was dark and the wind was cruel. Binta, her stepmother, was shouting again. "You've disrespected me for the last time," she yelled. Cifa stood quietly, trying not to cry. Her heart beat fast, her hands shaking. She looked to her father, hoping, just hoping, he would say something. But he didn't even meet her eyes. He just turned away. Before she knew it, Binta had thrown her out. No shoes, no bag, no goodbye. Just an old bedsheet clutched in her arms. The door slammed shut behind her. Outside, the rain began to fall. Not soft, gentle rain. It was loud and hard, like the sky itself was angry. Cifa walked barefoot through the mud, trying to find a place to hide. But there was nothing. So she curled up under the big tree at the edge of the village, the one near the broken fence, and wrapped the thin bedsheet around herself. She was soaked, shivering. The cold cut through her bones. Tears mixed with the rain on her face, but she didn't wipe them away. Above her the clouds moved slowly, and between them, she could see stars, tiny distant lights in the darkness. She stared at them for a long time, her lips barely moving. Then she whispered, "One day I'll have a home. A real one. A place no one can push me out from." And even though the night was cruel, that small quiet dream kept her warm. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, Cifa was already working. She washed dishes until her hands were raw, fetched buckets of water from the river, and carried heavy bundles of firewood on her back. The work never ended. Binta, her stepmother, made sure of that. "You think you're special?" Binta would sneer. "You're just a useless girl. Be grateful I let you stay." Cifa didn't answer. She had learned long ago that silence was safer. But in the quiet moments, when no one was looking, Cifa would sneak behind the house where the ground was soft and smooth. With a stick or sometimes just her fingers, she drew in the sand. Little houses. Big houses. Some with wide windows, some with round roofs. She didn't know the right words for them. But in her mind, each one had warmth, laughter, and a bed that felt like safety. She imagined walls that couldn't be kicked down, and doors that opened with love, not fear. Whenever Binta caught her drawing, she would laugh cruelly. "Look at you. Playing in dirt like a child. You'll never leave this village." Cifa would quickly erase the sketches, heart pounding, and go back to scrubbing pots. But the dream never left. Her only escape was a small broken radio she had found near the market. It crackled more than it spoke, but sometimes, if she turned it just right, it played programs from faraway places. One day, a story came on about architects in the city of Mukunda. Cifa froze, her hands still covered in soap. The voice on the radio spoke of buildings that touched the sky, bridges that danced across rivers, and women who designed homes that felt like magic. She listened with wide eyes, her heart pounding in a new way. That night she didn't draw in the sand, she carved. Carefully, slowly, she used a stick to make the lines deeper, sharper. This time the house had her name on the door. In that broken radio, in those rough sketches behind a dusty house, something began to grow inside her. A quiet fire. A dream with roots. It happened one evening, just as the sky was turning orange and the birds were heading home. Cifa was sweeping the front yard when she heard Binta screaming from inside the house. "My gold bangle is gone. Someone has stolen it." Her heart sank. She already knew what was coming. Binta stormed outside, waving her arms, eyes wild with anger. "You!" she shouted, pointing at Cifa. "You're the only one who touches my things. You stole it." Cifa's mouth fell open. "I didn't. I swear I didn't take anything." Her voice trembled, but she stood her ground. Binta didn't care. She kept yelling louder, gathering the neighbors. "This girl is a thief," she cried. "She should be thrown out for good." Cifa turned to her father, hoping, begging with her eyes for him to speak up. But he just stood there like a rock, silent and cold, not even looking at her. That silence broke her more than the lies. In minutes it was decided. She had to go. No proof. No mercy. Binta threw her bag into the yard, but it didn't even have her clothes. Just her sketchbook. The one she had hidden under her sleeping mat. Cifa clutched it tight. She had nothing else. Just a torn dress, bare feet, and drawings of homes she had never seen. As the sun disappeared, Cifa walked away. No one stopped her. No one said goodbye. The dirt road stretched for miles. The night was cold and the stones cut her feet, but she didn't stop. Her legs ached, her stomach growled, and tears kept rolling down her face. But her heart whispered one word over and over: Mukunda. The city from the radio. The city of builders. That's where she had to go. She didn't know how far it was. She didn't have money. But with every painful step, she kept telling herself, if I can just reach Mukunda, maybe someone will see me. Maybe someone will believe in me. The stars above were the same ones she had stared at that night under the tree. But this time she wasn't crying beneath them. Mukunda was nothing like Cifa imagined. It wasn't the shining city from the radio stories. It was big, loud, and full of people rushing past her like she didn't exist. The air smelled like smoke and metal, and the noise never stopped. Cars honking, voices shouting, machines roaring. She had made it to the city, but now came the harder part: surviving. With no family, no money, and no place to stay, Cifa slept on the ground near market stalls, curled up beside crates and boxes. Sometimes, kind vendors let her rest near their carts at night. Other times, she got chased away like a stray animal. During the day, she walked around looking for anything: work, food, a safe corner to sit. One morning, she found a small tea stall by the roadside run by an old man who looked tired but kind. She offered to help washing cups, wiping tables, carrying water. In return, he gave her leftover bread and weak, sugary tea. It wasn't much, but it kept her going. Still, whenever she found a quiet moment, Cifa pulled out whatever scraps she could find. Cardboard, paper, even flattened soda boxes, and she drew. With a piece of charcoal or an old pencil, she sketched homes the way she remembered them from her dreams. She didn't copy anything. The designs came straight from her heart. Curved roofs, hidden courtyards, gardens in the middle of rooms. One day, as she sat by the side of the road, drawing on a broken piece of cardboard, someone stopped in front of her. She looked up to see a young man with glasses and a satchel slung across his shoulder. He stared at her sketch, his eyes wide. "Who did this?" he asked. Cifa hesitated, then said softly, "Me." The man knelt down and looked closer. Then he smiled. "These aren't just drawings," he said. "They're blueprints. Real designs. Who taught you this?" "No one," she replied. "I just imagine them." He looked at her like she was something rare. "My name is Akan," he said. "And I think you've got something special." Akan kept his word. The very next day, he came back to the tea stall with a smile and said, "Come with me. I want you to meet someone." Cifa didn't know what to expect, but something about his voice made her trust him. She followed him through busy streets and narrow alleys until they reached a small, colorful building with a wooden sign that read, Zala Designs. Inside, the air smelled like fresh paper and coffee. People were talking, sketching, typing. Felt like another world. Akan introduced her to a tall, warm woman with gray braids and sharp eyes. "This is Mama Zala," he said. "She runs the firm." Mama Zala looked Cifa up and down. Dusty dress, worn sandals, tired face. But then she saw the sketchbook in her hands. She flipped through it slowly. Her expression didn't change much, but Cifa noticed something. She didn't close the book. That was a good sign. "You want a job?" Mama Zala asked. "Yes," Cifa said quickly. "Anything." And so she started as a cleaner. Every morning she swept the floors, took out the trash, and brought tea to the staff. No one paid her much attention. She didn't mind. While mopping and dusting, she watched. She listened. She learned. She memorized how the designers use rulers and tracing paper. She peeked at computer screens, noted how lines turned into buildings. At night, she went back to her corner behind the tea stall and practiced with scraps and charcoal, just like always. Then one afternoon, everything changed. One of the junior designers quit suddenly. Deadline approaching, chaos in the office. The team was stuck. Mama Zala was pacing. Papers flew everywhere. Cifa stood at the edge of the room, heart pounding. Then she stepped forward and said softly, "I can help." Everyone stared. Someone laughed. But Mama Zala raised an eyebrow. "You." Cifa didn't back down. "Just let me try." They gave her a blank sheet. She sat on the floor and began to draw. Her hands moved fast but steady. Cifa didn't waste a single chance. After that first design, Mama Zala gave her more small tasks: tracing plans, fixing sketches, organizing materials. She worked hard, stayed late, asked questions. She was always watching, always learning. Bit by bit, the team started to respect her. They began calling her Little Architect. And though she smiled shyly, the name lit something bright inside her. She saved every coin she earned. Instead of buying clothes or treats, she bought pencils, cheap notebooks, and second-hand design books from street sellers. At night, she read under dim light, eyes wide with hunger. Not for food, but for knowledge. Soon she started designing again, but this time with a purpose. She remembered the women in Indala, bent over from carrying firewood, cooking outside in the rain. She thought, what if I could build homes for them? Homes that are beautiful, strong, and affordable? She began drawing small eco-huts, using mud, bamboo, and local materials. Her designs weren't fancy, but they were full of heart. Rounded corners for airflow, rain-catching roofs, soft colors from natural dyes. She shared one online, not expecting much. But it exploded. People started sharing her post. Comments poured in. Who is this girl? These huts are stunning. Cifa Spaces? Never heard of it, but I'm following now. That's how Cifa Spaces was born. She made a simple logo, opened a page, and began showing her work. Orders came in, first from nearby towns, then cities, then people she never imagined. A famous artist asked her to design a studio. A minister's wife wanted a garden retreat. Everyone was amazed when they learned her story. You were homeless? They asked in disbelief. You slept on the street? Cifa would smile and say, yes, but I always had a dream. I just needed a place to grow it. She didn't forget where she came from. Every project, every hut was built with care and memory. She hired young girls who had nowhere to go. Cifa had come a long way, but one dream still lived deep in her heart. A dream bigger than any house, hut, or fancy project. She wanted to build a place for girls like her. Girls who had been thrown out. Girls who were told they didn't matter. Girls who slept under trees and whispered to the stars, just like she once had. She called it the Palace of Daughters. Not a shelter. Not a center. A palace. Because she believed every girl deserved to feel royal, safe, and seen. First, people didn't understand. A palace? Isn't that too much? They asked. But Cifa smiled and said, no, it's just right. Because we've already had too little for too long. She shared her idea online, with sketches, a small video, and a letter from the heart. She spoke about her journey, the night she was thrown out, and the thousands of girls like her. People were moved. Some cried. Donations started coming in. Women's funds, youth programs, and even people from other countries said, we believe in this. Cifa found a piece of land on the edge of Mukunda, dusty and dry but full of promise. She stood on it barefoot, closed her eyes, and imagined the walls rising. She could already hear laughter in the hallways. The building process began. She worked with local women, young builders, and even former street kids. Everyone had a story. Every brick was laid with care. On some bricks they wrote names, of girls who never got a second chance, of dreams that were once buried. The design was bold. Soft pink walls, wide open courtyards, sunlit rooms with warm yellow lights. There were art rooms, quiet gardens, reading corners, and beds that felt like clouds. Cifa made sure every detail was full of love. People came to watch. Some came to help. Others just stood silently, holding their hearts. This wasn't just a building. It was a promise. A place where no girl would be told she was worthless. A place where broken wings could heal. Years had passed. The Palace of Daughters stood tall and shining, filled with music, laughter, and the soft footsteps of girls who had finally found home. Cifa had grown too, not just in age but in strength. She was calm now, graceful, and full of quiet power. People respected her, admired her. But deep inside, she had never forgotten where she came from. Then one dusty afternoon the past came back. An old woman appeared at the palace gates. Her clothes were torn, her face thin and tired. She coughed as she spoke to the guard. Please, I heard they help women here. I have nowhere else to go. Cifa was in her office when a staff member knocked and said gently, there's someone at the gate asking for help. She says her name is Binta. Everything stopped. For a moment Cifa couldn't speak. That name hit her like a wave, cold, sharp, and deep. Binta. The woman who had thrown her out. The voice that had called her worthless. The silence of her father still echoed behind it. She walked slowly to the gate. When Binta saw her, she froze. Her eyes widened in shock. Her mouth opened but no words came. Then suddenly she dropped to her knees and began to cry. Cifa, I didn't know. I didn't know this place was yours. Please forgive me. I'm sick. I'm tired. I have no one. Please. Cifa stood in silence for a long time. Her heart was loud in her chest. So many memories rushed back. Cold nights, hunger, fear, the sound of a door slamming. She looked at Binta not with hate but with something deeper. Sadness. Maybe even pity. She finally spoke, her voice calm but strong. I built this from the ground you threw me on. Binta wept harder, reaching out. Please just let me stay. Cifa shook her head gently. No. This place is for girls who were never given a choice. You made yours. But she turned to the staff and said softly, give her food. Let her rest. But she won't live here. Then she walked away, head held high. Forgiveness didn't always mean forgetting. The sun was shining bright over Mukunda as the second palace of daughters opened its gates. Banners waved in the breeze, music played softly, and girls in bright dresses danced with joy. People had gathered from all over. Donors, reporters, community leaders, and young girls holding hands, full of hope. And in the middle of it all stood Cifa. She wore a flowing royal blue Ankara dress, her hair wrapped in gold cloth. She looked powerful, calm, proud, glowing. Cameras flashed. People whispered her name with respect. But behind her eyes was a memory only she could feel. A cold night, a tree, the sound of rain, and a heart full of hurt. When she stepped up to the microphone, the crowd fell silent. She took a deep breath, smiled gently, and began. I wasn't born a queen, she said. I didn't grow up in a big house. I didn't have fancy things or soft beds. I was thrown out of my home when I was 17, with nothing but a sketchbook and a dream. I slept on cold soil with rain on my face and fear in my chest. She paused, her voice steady, her eyes scanning the crowd. But that night something changed. I made a promise to myself. No girl should ever feel what I felt. No girl should be treated like trash because she has no one to protect her. That night on that cold ground I decided I would rise, and take others with me. People wiped tears from their eyes. A girl in the front row clutched her friend's hand tighter. This palace, Cifa continued, and the first one and every one we build after this, these are not just buildings. They are stories. They are proof. Proof that pain can be turned into power, that rejection can become a reason to fight, and that every girl deserves dignity, safety, and love. Applause thundered across the yard. Cifa smiled, tears in her eyes now too. From dirt to dignity, she said softly, we rise. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the garden. Laughter filled the air as young girls ran barefoot through the soft grass, chasing each other between the flowers and trees. Their giggles echoed through the wide courtyard of the newest palace of daughters. Cifa stood nearby, watching them with quiet joy in her eyes. She wasn't giving a speech today. She didn't need to. The palace spoke for itself. She slowly walked through the hallway, her fingers gently brushing the smooth wall. Years ago, this hallway had only existed in her dreams, sketched on cardboard, drawn in sand, imagined under the stars. Now it was real. Every corner, every window, every color was her vision brought to life. She paused at one spot where sunlight poured in and smiled. This was the very wall she had once drawn in her sketchbook behind Binta's house, hiding from the world. Back then she had nothing. Now she had built something that would outlive her. As the camera pulled back, the nameplate above the main entrance came into focus. Simple, clear, powerful. Designed by Cifa. Built by faith. No fancy title. No long speech. Just truth. Inside, girls studied, painted, danced, and rested in warm beds. Outside, the laughter continued. Cifa turned, watching it all, her heart full. The girl who once slept outside with nothing but a dream had now given others what she never had. A safe place, a second chance, a home. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was her legacy.